Welcome to Onichan. Today, I will introduce the latest Season 3 of the martial arts film Baki. When the world's strongest monster accepted his challenge, Baki devoted day and night to honing his new skills for the fight. He even ventured into the most notorious prison to train alongside the top fighters there, as this has been his long-standing wish, to battle against his own father. An emergency press conference took place with Mr. Saman, the sole survivor returning. He led the army to eliminate the gigantic, blood-sucking elephant. But unfortunately, his forces were too weak to defeat it. In critical condition, Saman was saved by a lone individual who bravely confronted and took down the monstrous elephant with bare hands. However, the media refused to believe his words, and Saman chose to remain silent and leave. Meanwhile, a group of naive kids challenged each other, seeking the strongest opponent for a showdown. Holding a fruit knife, one of the kids dared to challenge some older boys, which led them to burst out laughing at his foolishness. Later, they agreed to meet by the riverbank to face the strongest individual as promised. The young boy encountered Baki, but upon seeing him, his face turned pale. Baki wasted no time, immediately removing his clothes, making the boy extremely nervous, even to the point of almost wetting his pants. He stood there, frozen, for 5 seconds, thinking it would be his last night alive. Baki swiftly glided and used a bit of forearm strength to hit the target on the little guy. Looking at those butt cheeks, it was evident how much pain he must be in. The water level was much lower than the little guy, so he was spared some suffering. From being enemies, they had now become friends. Major Stridham met Baki to discuss a few matters, as his father had killed the giant man-eating elephant, meaning he accepted Baki's challenge. Baki conversed with the little guy about their training sessions. He demonstrated several martial arts moves to broaden the little guy's horizons, and introduced the basics of the wind strike technique. When imagining an opponent before him, those wind punches came so quickly, generating a lifelike flow of air. The fight with the imaginary opponents was incredibly intense, but it helped Baki create the imaginary champion Michael. Baki was continuously pushed to the limit while imagining heavy opponents. As for those little guys, they mocked and teased, thinking Baki were just putting on a one-man show. However, they were in for a surprise when Baki performance reached a level where started bleeding from their noses. Those eyes showed couldn't escape from the truth. Baki approached and delivered a decisive kick, sending the reigning champion Michaels. Then took the little guy back to his home, where the walls were filled with insults and slurs towards him, but his passion for training remained unwavering no matter where he was. He led the little guy down to his training room, where today, he would have a training session with a mantis. He caught it the other day but only had the chance to play with it now. Baki highly valued this mantis because it was the ruler of insects. While a tiger could carry prey 4 times its weight, insects could carry prey 8 times their weight back to their nests. These tiny creatures held a strength not so different from humans, and the mantis was a seasoned warrior. If it weighs close to 100 kilograms, it could take down the giant man-eating elephant. Never underestimate its size. One doesn't mean it lacks martial skills. After some contemplation, Baki imagined a 100-kilogram mantis attacking him. His imagination was so vivid that he realized his opponent was quite formidable. When he launched an attack, the mantis countered and he knee-struck its face. Though it was an imaginary opponent, it was incredibly swift, and they engaged in a fierce battle with no clear winner. The colossal mantis continuously put Baki on the defensive, but he noticed its weakness and swiftly grabbed its neck. Though it wasn't an easy feat, as it attempted to catch and devour him, he managed to escape just in time. Baki discovered another weak point and delivered a powerful punch. Despite its tough exoskeleton, he persisted in attacking and applied a necklock on the opponent. The mantis managed to flap struggle and sent Baki crashing into a table. Despite his extraordinary imagination, the injuries were real, and he was bleeding. Baki realized that this mantis was no easy opponent. As it charged at him again, he landed a powerful punch to its throat, exploiting its weak spot. Baki then switched to the style of mantis fist, an ancient martial art discovered by his ancestor. This art was inspired when a monk once witnessed a battle between a mantis and a bird, assuming the bird would be the one to feast on its opponent. And surprisingly, when the victory went to the mantis, and the monk studied its techniques. Thus, the mantis fist style was born, and Baki now used it to confront his adversary. However, it wasn't an easy fight. The mantis countered with life-threatening strikes, but Baki aimed for its weak points, making it tremble in fear and disappear. He managed to catch the tiny mantis and put it in the box, adopting it as his pet. Captain Stridham took a trip to the most luxurious hotel to find Yujiru. There, Yujiru was enjoying the pool with a speed of 20 km/h. Swimming tirelessly with the skills of a deadly fish, he shot up from the water like a whale breaching the surface. The two had an intimate conversation, and Stridum wanted to let Yujiro know about his son's success in defeating a mantis weighing over 100 kilograms after intense training. Upon hearing this, Yujiro burst into uncontrollable laughter. To him, the boy's imagined battle with the mantis, no matter how powerful his imagination was, could never compare to the colossal reality of a mammoth-sized elephant. During a parade introducing the incumbent president to the public, amidst the cheers and excitement, the president suddenly disappeared. It turned out that Baki had kidnapped him and taken him to a nearby restaurant. They engaged in a negotiation where Baki admitted to a serious offense and demanded to be transferred to the notorious Arizona prison in the United States to meet the most dangerous convict. Helpless, the president had no choice but to accept Baki's demand. Special Forces soldiers apprehended Baki. Following every step of the procedure meticulously, the court sentenced him and issued prison number. Everything happened swiftly, leading Baki to the infamous prison. Inside, he went through the routine prison procedures like any other inmate. The prison warden was surprised by his muscular build and explained that everyone there had a tough demeanor. Because Baki desired to meet Oliva, the prison warden arranged for someone to escort him to see the notorious convict. After passing through multiple secure doors, Baki was taken aback when he stepped into Oliva's infamous living quarters. Baki approached the door and was warmly welcomed by Oliva, who was a gracious host and offered him tea. The two engaged in a conversation, and Baki expressed his desire to challenge Oliva to gain more experience, as he was preparing for a fight with the strongest martial artist in the world, his father. Oliva explained to him the proper sequence of facing opponents. It was impossible for Baki to directly challenge the strongest fighter in the area. However, the impulsive and reckless Baki couldn't miss such an opportunity, and immediately threw a punch at Oliva. To his surprise, Oliva didn't retaliate and instead suggested that Baki return to his cell and fight the second strongest inmate in the area. Baki was transferred to his cell, initially thinking that it was empty. It turned out to be filled with dangerous individuals, including the champion Michael, whom Baki had trained against in his imagination. Michael reminded him that he still hadn't made it into the top 10 of the areas. Meanwhile, an old man instructed everyone to remain silent and go to sleep. The next morning, Baki thought the tall figure was the second strongest fighter, and decided to challenge him head-on, eager for a heated battle. When the figure emerged from a barrel, it turned out to be the actual number 2 fighter in the area. However, driven by Baki's impulsive nature, he immediately engaged in a reckless confrontation, causing concern among the others in the room. In the midst of the tension, they had to evacuate the cell for a prison inspection, and only the number 2 fighter was allowed to move freely without any restrictions. He even got to smoke, and the prison guards seemed to turn a blind eye to his actions. All of them moved to the cafeteria, and Guevara noticed that a prison guard had a new gun, so he borrowed it to test and killed a fly, leaving the guard stunned for 5 seconds. There was a tall man sitting opposite the number 2 fighter. A chubby man challenged him and demonstrated his skills in bending spoons. In response, Guevara showcased his flexibility with a dance routine, which angered the chubby man, causing him to flip the dining table and demand a fight with the number 2 fighter. The chubby man wanted to obtain the prison numbers of some inmates in exchange for his freedom, and Guevara agreed to his request. And handed the chubby man a gun with a broken firing pin. As the chubby man attempted to shoot, the gun's trigger was kicked, rendering it useless. Feeling betrayed, the chubby man accused Guevara of playing dirty. To settle their conflict, they moved to the sports hall for a one-on-one sumo wrestling match. The prison guards were curious and followed to observe. Guevara pretended to be naive and embraced the chubby man to begin the fight. However, the chubby man struggled to lift Guevara due to his weight, unaware of what Guevara had eaten that made him so heavy. Because of worrying too much about the big guy's strength, Guevara punched him in the ear, leading to a perforated eardrum, then pulled out a few hairs and made the chubby guy immobilized. The fight had a conclusion as the big guy was no longer able to continue. Guevara silently walked away and handed him over to the guards for handling. The guards greeted each other and bid him farewell as he set off on his journey. Here, Baki encountered Guevara again, and learned that he came here to challenge the number 1 fighter, Oliva. However, Baki provoked him with offensive words, and the guards rushed and threw a rod. Baki, agile as ever, used a flexible rod to showcase his skills. As a result, he was locked up with his fingers restrained. The old man saw the foolishness in the young lad and brought him some food, sharing more life stories about Guevara. When he, the president of a remote island in South America, and achieved glorious victories, he confiscated the riches of the wealthy and distributed them to the people. However, over time, the people became dependent on tourism, and the distance from progress turned them into slaves to money. Therefore, Guevara was determined to regain independence for the island by teaching martial arts to his tribe, with rigorous training to resist modern weapons. After a while, Guevara became the president and had a secret special forces team. Meanwhile, the President of the United States wanted to equalize the island as it contained undesirable elements. He devised plans, and a spy threatened the president that if he dared to interfere with the island, he would be sent there to taste the saltiness of seawater. To add more drama, the spy showed a clip about the president's wife and children. Therefore, Guevara did the unthinkable to achieve independence. He came here with the sole purpose of defeating Oliva and asserting his island's position. At that moment, the prison guard walked in and warned the old man for violating the prison rules, which meant he would be punished. However, the extent of the punishment depended on the guard's attitude. Baki saw this and aggressively insulted the guard, which excited him since nobody had dared to disrespect him before. This gave the guard an excuse to discipline the young lad and teach him about life. As soon as he raised his stick, he was hit by a kick from Baki, sending him crashing against the railing. Seizing the opportunity, Baki planned to unlock his fingers from the restraints, but the guard retaliated with a few strikes. Baki's knee strike was too strong, causing the guard to fall backward, but fortunately he quickly caught up. However, with only 2 fingers locked, Baki couldn't handle guard weight, and used all his strength to throw him up. In gratitude for Baki's kindness, the guard decided to let go of the matter and erase everything that happened. The next day, he had to endure grueling outdoor labor, driving stakes into the ground. With his incredible strength, he could finish driving 1 stake with just 2 blows, whereas the champion Michael needed 3 or 4. During their break, the two of them had a heartfelt conversation about Michael's impending release from prison and his participation in an upcoming heavyweight competition. However, the chairman of the World Boxing Council had sent a $2 million check to the Arizona prison, and demanded that they never see the champion Michael return to the ring. Consequently, they bribed the Arizona prison to find a way to eliminate him. To defeat Michael, they had no choice but to call upon the trio of lethal assassins known for their professional approach, which had earned them a reputation, though upon closer inspection, their credibility wasn't all that high. Their catchphrase was lips, teeth, or tongue, which symbolized their seamless combination when eating something. When food was put into their mouths, they would consume it skillfully without it touching their lips, teeth, or tongue, showcasing their exquisite coordination. The prison warden, Samuels, led the 3 assassins to meet Michael, but he still didn't believe in their abilities against a formidable opponent like Michael. The trio carefully calculated the data to take down Michael. They believed that with just 2 to 3 moves, they could defeat him, despite his strength being 2 to 3 times that of an average person. They arranged themselves in a triangle around the champion, perfectly coordinated and ready to attack, then attacking Michael relentlessly with synchronized strikes. However, one of the assassins hit Michael and then fled, making him give chase. But Michael didn't expect that he had fallen into a trap. With their perfectly coordinated attacks, they had frightened him into retreating to a corner, thinking that taking cover there would allow him to face them head-on and deliver more direct punches. However, the assassins were clever and showed a bit of respect, deciding to strike him with uppercuts. The 3 of them smoothly synchronized their punches, and even though Michael was a superstar, he couldn't dodge 3 punches at once. He ended up taking the full combo of punches from the 3 skilled assassins. The final blow was a series of stomps to his face until he lost consciousness. No matter how strong someone is, teamwork is incomparable. They had to end Michael's boxing career by cutting a few tendons in his arm. However, Guevara intervened in time and turned the situation around, as he not only had strength but also enjoyed playing tricks and being cunning. The trio of assassins positioned themselves for the fight, but could they defeat Guevara? There was a guy who rushed forward to attack, but he got peed on by someone, making the other 2 disgusted by this filthy act. Guevara then lay down on the ground and inhaled some air. Seeing this, another guy jumped up and rushed forward, just because he liked to show off. But these crazy antics didn't stop there, when he smeared dirt on his face, reminiscing about glorious memories. The 3 guys changed their tactics. When 2 of them rushed to attack, one of them got hit, making them scared to death, and peed their pants because of the danger. Thus, the battle was divided between winners and losers. Michael woke up and thanked Guevara for helping him, but Guevara casually said it was no big deal since they were roommates. Baki always looked forward to facing Guevara in a fight, and when the challenge was accepted, he was surprised. However, before the match could begin, Oliva came to visit. and the two of them engaged in a verbal exchange. Despite having different interests, they shared a common passion for becoming the strongest through fighting. Guevara fought to help someone, while Oliva wanted to impress his beloved girlfriend. Hearing this, Baki felt infuriated and realized he had admired the wrong person all along. He told them to stop all their showboating immediately. And without hesitation, they landed a powerful blow to Baki's face, sending him flying. Oliva flaunted his girlfriend's warm handkerchief, which greatly excited him when he smelled it. Not one to back down, Guevara decided to retaliate by spitting phlegm into the handkerchief. To teach Oliva a lesson for his pointless boasting, he quickly grabbed his beloved handkerchief and ran outside screaming in frustration. Just like any other day, Oliva dressed up elegantly to meet his girlfriend. His meticulous appearance spoke volumes about how much he loved her. As soon as they met, he did something that made girlfriend upset. With his imposing and pungent style, managed to win her over in his own unique way. Meanwhile, Guevara was eagerly awaiting his match with Oliva. He held a container filled with the spiritual strength of the island. To boost his motivation and determination, the time for the battle had come, and all the prisoners in the prison were looking forward to witnessing this epic fight. Everyone was excited to see what would unfold as Guevara stepped forward, clutching his container of strength. While Oliva took it to another level, bringing along his bed and his girlfriend, everyone was eagerly anticipating meeting his girlfriend, but his extravagant behavior left everyone disappointed in her appearance. They had expected her to be exceptionally beautiful, but to their surprise, she turned out to be heavier than a chubby elephant. Oliva explained that people were admiring his girlfriend, but look at their faces, to see if they were truly admiring her, and save face in front of his girlfriend. Oliva then displayed his impressive muscles, leaving everyone astonished. On the other hand, Guevara took out his bottle to draw inspiration from the surging sea breeze within him, then suggested a noble way of fighting to Oliva, when they would each hold one end of a cloth and punch each other until one of them let of the cloth, then that person loses. Both sides agreed to this rule, and they held the cloth in their hands. Guevara initiated the attack, landing several direct punches on Oliva, who endured them without letting go of the cloth. He realized that these few punches wouldn't be enough to defeat his opponent, so he aimed to knock Oliva unconscious or make him loosen his grip on the cloth to win the match. Surprisingly, Oliva pretended to flip over and pulled the cloth, causing Guevara to grasp it tightly with both hands. Oliva noticed that Guevara was still inexperienced and easily angered, so he seized the opportunity by holding the cloth with only 2 fingers, mocking him. This made Guevara furious, and he resorted to dirty tricks by releasing a foul gas into Oliva's eyes and rushed and grabbed, hurling him into the air. But Oliva remained unfazed and did not let go of the cloth. Guevara took advantage of the moment when Oliva was disoriented and launched a series of attacks, making him stagger, yet he still clung to the cloth. Oliva taunted Guevara for not letting go, when he had actually loosened his grip without needing to grab it again. Despite Oliva's insults, he is determined to become even stronger. In the end, Oliva only needed to gently strike Guevara's head and bring him crashing to the ground to secure his victory. In the midst of tension, young Baki hugged Oliva's mistress and fell asleep, which infuriated Oliva to the point that he threw the cloth away. Adding to his frustration, Oliva's mistress criticized him. Guevara seized the opportunity to deliver some powerful kicks and target Oliva's weak points before resorting to dirty tricks. However, it was no easy feat to defeat the top fighter in the prison. Oliva launched a powerful strike that sent Guevara flying hundreds of meters, crashing into the wall. As the crowd cheered for Oliva's victory, Guevara rose up, even more crazed. He painted tribal markings on his face and charged forward with a frenzied war cry. However, Oliva took the fight seriously, rendering Guevara's attacks ineffective. Despite Guevara's wild onslaught, he eventually collapsed on the ground after taking a devastating and high-damage strike from Oliva. But even then, Guevara didn't give up and managed to stand up again. Oliva increased the power of his muscles for one final showdown. Guevara also tapped into his infinite state. A word of caution was given to Oliva as he blew away shirt. This time, Guevara planned to use the Earth's gravitational force to gently lift Oliva into the air, and then deliver a punch as powerful as the Earth's core. It seemed like the battle would end swiftly to everyone's surprise. Oliva grabbed Guevara and slammed him to the ground with a force equivalent to thousands of tons, leaving him with no chance but to face death. Oliva praised Guevara's strength, but he was still young and didn't understand the love for muscles. He warned Baki about the immense power and how to restrain it, otherwise, it could destroy the entire prison and go to heaven. Baki told him not to brag, but little did he know that this guy's father was hailed as the king of monsters. So, Oliva had to re-educate this kid, when he doesn't listen to adults talk. Fortunately, Baki had a bit of martial arts so he was okay. After hitting the boy, Oliva hugged his girlfriend inside to build up his feelings. Everything came to an end when the prison guards inspected the room and couldn't find Guevara. He had sent a letter back to Oliva with some money from the island, hoping Oliva would visit the island himself. Back in Guevara's hometown, he resumed his leadership role, and together joyfully built the island with people. After the escape incident, Baki returned to his daily life in prison, but this time he was determined to prove himself as the top fighter. He aimed to overcome the challenges in prison to solidify his reputation. Unfortunately, the prison warden caught wind of his intentions, and despite the warden's advice. But dealing with such an arrogant young boy, he can't do anything either. Instead, Warden faced threats as Baki struck at his vulnerable points. The situation escalated as both sides remained unyielding in their stance. But Baki used a clever trick to lift the warden's arm onto his shoulder. Walking confidently through each gate, he accomplished his goal of breaking the shackles of his title. Afterward, he extended his hand for the prison guards to re-lock him, surprising everyone. To everyone's amazement, Oliva seemed to enjoy even more freedom. He became furious when Baki attempted to tarnish his own reputation, so he had to teach the young boy a lesson under the scorching midday sun, despite Baki's continuous provocations. Oliva held back and ignored it as if nothing happened. As Baki's taunts proved ineffective, he returned to his prison cell. Oliva, feeling humiliated by the young boy, threw his vehicle away in frustration. He proceeded to Baki's prison cell and spoke about the vast difference between the two of them. Oliva urged Baki to abandon the delusion of competing against him, because Baki couldn't possibly win. Words do not equal actions, as he urinated on Baki's head to illustrate the clear gap. However, Baki confidently asserted that he would make Oliva kneel and apologize for his actions. This story left Oliva feeling uneasy. Despite enjoying delicious food and fine wine, he couldn't find satisfaction. The prison warden and Oliva had a conversation about Baki's emergence. It had caused the prisoners to become unruly and disobedient. The warden wanted Oliva to teach Baki a lesson to bring discipline back to the prison. So, Oliva reluctantly accepted the challenge, even invited the president and various television stations to witness the fight live. This way, they could profit from the broadcast rights and make additional money for Arizona prison. Oliva went to meet Baki to discuss the challenge that was supposed to take place in 2 weeks. However, Baki confidently said he didn't need to wait that long and wanted to fight right here, when he was sure he could defeat Oliva, but as soon as he charged forward, Oliva punched him with such force that he went flying through a wall. Oliva started getting more serious. The young reckless Baki used his joint manipulation skills to bring his hand forward and unlock the finger lock. Now the playing field was even. Every time Baki launched an attack, Oliva would counter it and push him with full force, making him crash into the wall. But Oliva didn't stop there. He continued to control Baki and sent him tumbling around. People are not vegetables to be tossed back and forth. Then came a powerful blow that drove Baki's through multiple walls. Despite Baki's strong and robust physique, he was pushed to the limit by Oliva's relentless attacks. He took a 1,000-ton punch and was sent flying out. Despite trying to counter Oliva's attacks, it seemed like he was only scratching the surface. Oliva threw him straight down into the ground, creating a 30 centimeters deep crater, leaving him lying there gasping for breath, contemplating the massive power difference between them. It reminded him of the time he fought his father, and the excitement overwhelmed him, filling the space around him. In a moment, he was covered in steam, and then he stood up again. Oliva scolded him for taking too long to get up, and gathered more muscular strength, preparing for a serious battle. But Baki surprised everyone. With incredible speed that the naked eye couldn't keep up with, he unleashed an attack that left Oliva unconscious for 5 seconds. Oliva was delighted, as Baki reminded him of Yujiro. The whole scene was captured in sharp 4K resolution on the cameras, revealing Baki's lightning-fast moves that left Oliva stunned and unconscious. It remains to be seen whether Baki can break through Oliva's extraordinary skills. When Baki decides to test Oliva's defenses with some kicks, but surprise, they bounce back at him, then attempts to use his grandfather's legacy punch, but Oliva's muscular layer is as tough as iron stone. Oliva grabs Baki's hand and grips him like a predatory animal, tightly constricting his opponent in a scene reminiscent of a python coiling around its prey. After Baki exhausts his resistance, Oliva releases him and urges Baki to give up the fight, as he believes Baki's arrogance is unwarranted. Especially when inside a prison where there are no rules, opponents are free to use any treacherous and dirty tactics. Baki insists that this fight only has one outcome: one survives, and the other surrenders. Oliva quickly lunged forward, attempting to stomp Baki a few times due to his annoying mouth, then unleashed a monstrous technique, aiming to bite into Baki. However, Baki managed to counter the attack, thwarting vicious move. Oliva delivered a powerful punch to shut Baki up and make him pay for his audacity. Baki advised Oliva to stop resorting to cheap tricks, and instead fight like true warriors, engaging in a fair boxing match. At that moment, the heavyweight champion Michael warned Baki about facing Oliva, as he had never been defeated. Fighting Oliva would only lead to self-destruction. Despite the warning, Baki became even more intrigued and eager to test his abilities against Oliva. Both of them charged at each other, exchanging lightning-fast blows, with heavy punches landing on their faces. This was a battle of two evenly matched fighters, an intense duel that even bystanders couldn't help but stopwatch. Baki's sole objective was to defeat Oliva at any cost. He engaged Oliva directly, using both strength and technique, trying to push him against the wall. Meanwhile, Oliva didn't expect that such a small kid could actually push him back. Both of them relentlessly exchanged life-threatening blows. Baki unleashed a final punch that smashed through the wall, achieving a triumphant scene, making him overjoyed. However, upon returning inside, Baki saw Oliva lying motionless, thinking he had struck a fatal blow. To his surprise, Oliva is still alive, seeing his beautiful girlfriend. The girl became afraid that he might die. She forced him to follow her to her room to recuperate. Oliva gathered everyone together to announce the outcome of the fight with Baki, admitting his defeat and thus losing his position as number 1 in the prison rankings. However, he refused to accept this, and called on the prison warden to expel Baki from the premises, so he could maintain his top position. On the other hand, Baki's father and Lieutenant Stridham heard the news of his victory against Oliva. This news foreshadowed an intense and thrilling battle between the father and son, setting the stage for a fierce confrontation between them. Today's video ends here, my friends. Remember to like, share, and subscribe to the channel to support Onichan in the upcoming videos. Thank you for watching, and much love to all of you.